Chris.
How's it
What's up,
going,
buddy?
sir?
Hi,
How you
guys.
doing, Chris?
I'd be better if I wasn't doing this in my freaking bedroom, but what do you
It's all right. I'm doing it in the basement, so I feel
gotta
you.
do, right? I got a daughter, two grandkids, a cat, a dog. We live in
Uh-huh.
a house. So, what are you gonna do, man?
It's
How it
clean. It's
goes.
fine. It's presentable.
It's all good.
Do we have a do I have a backdrop that I option? Let's see here. More. Nah, that's all right. I guess it'll be fine, right?
No
Yeah.
worries.
No
Uh,
judgment at all. No judgment
Yeah.
at all.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see what the audience says.
Yeah.
Here.
Also, to our audience, I want to remind them we have a very special guest returning to our show, Grand Rapids native, Mr. Chris Balas, the senior editor for the Wolverine.com. It is a very special treat for us. Super stoked to have you on. I think it's been almost 4 years, and obviously a lot of change
Really?
in the Michigan Wolverines uh,
2021.
That's
program.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's stupid, guys. Call anytime, man. I love doing this. So,
I no, it's super awesome to have you on. It's a
yeah,
treat. You're out. It's good to pick your very professional brain.
appreciate it.
So yeah, man. Ben, I think's got the first question here. Shoot off on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, kind of a simple one, but maybe you get this one all the time or something similar to this, but like who's your favorite Michigan football player to cover of all time and why? Maybe not
Of
necessarily your favorite gotta watch, but like cover.
of all time, that's a tough one, man. You know how many guys there have been? I'm getting old, fellas.
Yeah.
Uh, it's amazing.
Do you have
The
to say Doug Skeen? I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I do not will not say Doug Skeen, although yeah, he was before my time, believe it or not, at the Wolverine. But even though
Yeah.
we graduated together, Doug Skeen's my podcast partner, obviously. But
Yep.
he was literally though. I did 300 Where Are They Now articles for the magazine, and
Mhm.
he was literally one of my favorites. We talked for like an hour and a half, and I got his stories, and some of them on the record, some of them off the record. That
Sure.
92 offensive line guys, those guys were a bunch of freaks. So I wish I could tell you the stories. But so we became good friends, and now we're podcast partners. There are two guys. There's a story I'll tell you because Zach Novak told it. Um, Zach Novak, who I think kind of helped change the culture of Michigan basketball under John Beeline, was really not being recruited by anybody. And we knew that John Beeline, with his first recruiting class, was looking at a two-star from Indiana. We had no idea who it was. So we started calling people. And I called his head coach. I think his name was Tom Penders at where he was from at Chesterton. And he said, no, he's not being recruited, but he would love to be. And then I looked at his stats, and this dude was just like putting up all kinds of crazy numbers. So I contacted Michigan. I think Brian Townsend was the SID at the time. Long story short, a couple practices later, Townsend reaches out to me. He says, hey, man, thanks for the heads up. They knew about Novak. They didn't really have any plans for him. Ends up at Michigan. And Novak goes on a Facebook live broadcast and says, hey, Balas, I got to thank my buddy Balas. He's the reason I'm at Michigan, which wasn't true. Obviously, it was him. But you know what?
Sure.
I love this kid and everything that he did here. And I
Yeah.
loved covering him because he was so cool. Jason Avant is right up there as a receiver
Yeah.
in the mid 2000s. Just a class act, right? And everything that he was as a captain, everything he embodied was Michigan football. Loved him. Guys, there are so many. I could go on forever.
Sure.
And then the championship team, guys, JJ McCarthy, Blake Corum. That's the reason that Michigan won a title because all of those guys were elite when it comes to just being great people in addition to great players. So I could go right down the list with those guys too. That's what it takes to win championships. And hopefully they got some of those guys on this year's team too.
For sure.
Yeah, let's talk about this year's team a little bit. Bryce Underwood obviously entered this season as a probably the most hyped freshman quarterback in Michigan history. What's surprised you the most about how he's adapted to the Big Ten's physicality and his decision making under pressure in these first few games?
You just kind of mentioned it. The accuracy that he throws with when he's rolling either right or left, right, is ridiculous. And everybody points to him being, I think, the number 104 passer in the country in terms of pass efficiency through 4 games, I think it was. And, without the drops, he's right up there probably around 50 or 45. And that was with some really sketchy offensive line play against Oklahoma. But really, it's his poise. We knew that he was a great athlete. Freshmen, sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are. There's a lot to learn and you get rattled. He does not get rattled. He is so beyond his years. Guys, this kid just turned 18 years old. It's
Yeah.
nuts. But to me, it's that and his feel for the game. He feels pressure, and I think Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator, does a great job of moving him around
Mhm.
and really making it easier on those tackles who still have some room for improvement when it comes to pass pro. But man, guys, the accuracy with which he throws is just sick. It's unbelievable. He can put it wherever he wants to, and listening to opposing coaches talk about him after games, saying, we just saw a first round pick or a future number one overall pick, is pretty exciting.
Yeah. Kind of you alluded to it a little bit, but do you feel this team's potential is in a way doomed by the way the wide receiver core has been playing? I mean, obviously everybody, there's always room for improvement, but
Yep.
or can they kind of find a way to mask the deficiencies? Because obviously, looking at it right now, quarter of the way through the season, that has been the biggest deficiency on offense.
It's a fair question. And, I wouldn't say doomed, but I think they desperately need to improve. You have to have that one guy, right? In
Yeah,
1997, again, I'm going way before your guys' time here. There was Ty Streets, and then there was a tight end, Jeremy Tooman. Last year, it was Colston Loveland. You can get away with it if you have an elite tight end that you can use
yeah,
also as a receiver. And if they get Hogan Hansen back from injury, and they will, and he and Marlon Klein can really present a really nice duo at tight end, and Donovan McCulley continues to up his game, then I think we got an opportunity here to be pretty good. But the and it's going to come down to the offensive line too, right? I think when you've got elite backs, you've got an elite back in Justice Haynes. The line's improving when it comes to run blocking. You've got an elite quarterback. There's no question that that is the weak link right now. And I wrote a column about this last week that
yeah,
that is the one group that is really preventing this offense from reaching its potential, in my opinion.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, well, so I think the benefit of having these tight ends that we've been able to put out these last probably almost decade now. I think I can go back to 2016 and think of like Sean McCune, Jake Blutt, Nick Eubanks, Bunting, Asiasi. I could go on and on. It seems like they had so many that just always get a shot, not only at Michigan but going even to the NFL. Um, and so we talk about some of the options they have there when the wide receivers aren't maybe doing their work. I want to talk about Marlon Klein and Hogan Hansen this year, though, continuing that trend of maybe putting guys even beyond in the NFL to play on Sundays. Um, do you think that the Wolverines? Why do you think it is that the Wolverines seem to hit on so many of these tight ends at like an unprecedented rate?
Yeah, it's a priority for them. And Jim Harbaugh was always great at that, at identifying tight end talent. You go to, you'd look at, for example, it doesn't matter where they're from. Luke Schoonmaker, right, from out east, right? Colston Loveland is in Idaho. I think it was Idaho. Was it Idaho or
Yeah,
Montana?
Idaho. Yeah,
Colton Loveland was
yeah, it's
Idaho.
Idaho.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter. And they understand the importance in their offense with what they want to do. And that hasn't changed a ton, even under Chip Lindsey. And I asked Chip this. I had a one-on-one with him in the spring, and he said, "Yeah," he said, "I've had offenses in which the tight end was featured. It really depends on how good they are." Now, the funny thing is, we talked to guys that were at practices that have played tight end here at Michigan, and they said that was one of the areas of concern with Hogan Hansen being out. Is Marlon Klein really going to answer the bell? And he did. Our Anthony Broom at the Wolverine predicted it. He said, "I think Marlon Klein's going to exceed expectations," and he really did in week one. And we've seen him make some tough catches. He's got the body. He's been a great athlete, but they've been waiting for him to become a great football player because he hadn't played that much in his career, right? Coming from overseas, now he's getting there. And I think he's going to be a huge asset to this offense going forward. But they are making that a priority. There are probably 7 or 8 guys on their list in 2027. They got a couple more in 26. And those guys know if they come to Michigan, they're going to catch the football.
For sure. Speaking of Chip Lindsey, you've mentioned before, I've read some stuff and seen a few things on your podcast where you kind of likened him to Dusty May in a way to where you just feel a certain way about both those guys. Why do you feel that way? I know I've heard you talk about Dusty May and you thought there's almost no way he doesn't succeed at the University of Michigan. Like, why
Yep.
do you feel that way about Chip Lindsey?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there are two things. In talking to people that knew him at North Carolina, talking to people close to the program that had broken down film of his offenses before he arrived here, they said there was always the sequencing was unbelievable. He sees the
Yeah.
game differently than a lot of different people. Like he might do some things in the first quarter where you're like, okay, a couple plays that didn't work, but then you see in the third quarter why they're running them, right? Why they ran them in the first quarter because they're building off of it. Whether it's a route or something like that that they're getting a corner to bite on or something. He just sees the game differently, and the way he presents it and teaches it, according to the former players of his that we talked to. This guy has got a great football mind. So I did write a column for the football preview saying I've never been as confident about a coordinator here. And Dusty May was one. John Beeline was another I knew was going to
Yeah.
succeed here. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh. I really feel really strongly that Lindsey is on in the conversation anyway to be that guy that is almost a can't miss here. And I think we've seen it through 4 games with the improvement. Part of it obviously is having a capable quarterback, guys, but with the exception of the Oklahoma game where the receivers and the offensive line were just terrible, I think we've seen it, the sequencing and stuff like that really show his offensive mind.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I really like talking about like the players and kind of picking your mind on like your firsthand experience seeing these guys and like analyzing the game probably multiple times after it's played even. But watching Jay Sean Barham's
Mm.
transition from linebacker to basically full-time edge now, it's already paid off with that outstanding performances the last couple of games, which is allowing Michigan fans to see what we always kind of thought about the potential of like Jimmy Rolder and then the emergence of a young Cole Sullivan. How might this newfound versatility reshape Michigan's pass rush packages moving forward?
No, another great question. Matt Rule, actually, after the Nebraska coach said after the game, he said, that was something that they hadn't shown much of, but it changes their defense completely because it brings a guy that is almost unblockable from the edge. And if you aren't giving help there, then you're screwed, right? He's getting there how
Mhm.
many times? I think his pressure rate was off the charts against Nebraska. If you do double him, and I wrote this last a couple days ago, then that opens things up for Derek Moore a little bit more, who had been drawing some attention. Derek Moore, in my opinion, is one guy who still has more to give, fellas. And we saw him in that Alabama game last year just dominate. And that's what I
Yeah.
expect of this guy. Every time I'm standing next to this kid, I'm like, this guy should be just killing people out there. He's got the
Mhm.
speed, he's got the size. So I think with the bye week, it'll give him a chance to heal up a little bit, but I think that's going to open some things up for him too. So to me, I actually picked Jay Sean Barham to lead the team in sacks before the year because I thought, and listening to what they were saying about how they were going to use him, not just blitzing, but also on the edge, I thought this kid, if he's the freak athlete that we think he is and that they say he is, he's going to
Mhm.
be able to do it. And we're actually seeing that now. So he's fun to watch, guys.
Yeah. Um, Coming out of the bye week, do you see anybody kind of on the team that's might emerge that we haven't seen a whole lot of yet? They played a lot of freshmen, especially on defense. I know that, but beyond guys who have kind of done anything yet, do you see anybody kind of emerging and maybe playing a pretty sizable role here going forward?
They talked about the receivers, Andrew Marsh and Browder guys as guys that are going to have an opportunity because if other guys aren't catching the ball, this is a meritocracy still, even though Jim
Right.
Harbaugh's not here, right? If guys have got to produce to play, and I actually talked to somebody who was on the coaching staff last year, and he said, okay, he said in his opinion, the 3 receivers should be Channing Goodwin, Donovan McCulley, and Andrew Marsh. He thinks Andrew Marsh is going to be fantastic, and he knew
Yeah.
during the recruiting process. Now you still need those slot receivers and those shifty guys. Samaj Morgan's, I think, had four drops along with Channing Goodwin to lead the team. I think they're like third in the nation in drops, which is not okay,
Yeah.
right? So if that's the case, then you're going to get some of these young guys in there, and I think Marsh is one of those guys that might have a chance to make more of an impact. So I do think Shamari Earls too, who got injured doing a flip and the
Yeah.
opener guys
Yeah.
backflip coming out of the field. It's like, come on, man. That shouldn't happen, but it did. It's a learning experience. I think
Sure.
he's going to be get a little bit more involved. But guys, Jaden Sanders has been the really an epiphany, right? He
Mhm.
has been better than advertised, and Sharon Moore did say, like in practice 4, he went to the coaches and he said, "This is a guy that's going to help us this year." So love it. And then of course Rod Moore, and I think this is the most important one, getting him back healthy. He played 21 plays against Nebraska, veteran safety who really knows where to put guys. And I can't tell you how important that is because we're seeing linebackers that The fits aren't great at times. Ernest Hausmann has had quite a few tackles, but there have been a lot of times that the fits haven't been great. He hasn't been great in pass coverage. So I think having Rod Moore back there will help, and then more Cole Sullivan. I want to see more of that kid on the field. No disrespect to Jimmy Rolder, but guys, Cole Sullivan's a future star here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You hit a lot of the names that I was actually just going to talk about, man. I remember we were talking about some of the wide receivers that would step up, and you brought up Anthony Simpson when I listened to you at the Garage Bar, which
Yeah.
10 out of 10 recommend the Garage. Big Michigan people over there too, and you guys put on a great show there with you and Broom and Safety. So, but yeah, I was going to talk about Anthony Simpson a little bit, but then you talked about Jaden Sanders, and yeah, he's filled in more than admirably at corner, deflecting passes, racking up tackles, opposite Jair Hill. Did you anticipate him ascending the depth chart this quickly? And like, what trait stands out as signs that he's going to be a long-term lockdown guy?
Yeah, it's the confidence, right? Yeah, to go out there with no fear. And that's the thing that they always talk about, whether it's an offensive lineman, whether it's a corner and being able to put the play behind you. We haven't really seen him get beat, which is crazy, so we don't know how good he is at putting a play behind him, but he's always in the right spot. And
Yeah.
that to me is bigger than anything. Everybody talks about makeup speed and cover ability and stuff like that. We know he's got that, but that ability to stick on some really good receivers so far has been really the most impressive thing about him. Anthony Simpson has been kind of a disappointment. It's funny because the same guys that are dropping balls in games are dropping balls in practice. Unfortunately, Simpson's been dropping balls in practice too. And somebody said he had like 7 drops last year at UMass. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you don't want to throw somebody back out there who, he might have the moves after he catches the ball, but you got to catch the ball first. So that's been a little bit disappointing. But Sanders to me is confident beyond his years, and that's really been really a surprise, a really nice one.
For sure. Um, I think I asked a similar question to you in 2021, and that was a way different time, obviously, in the
Yeah.
program and just in general. But where do you kind of feel the direction of this program is headed now under Sharon? A season and a quarter, into his tenure. Obviously, a ton of change, and he's kind of seems like he's trying to figure out exactly how he wants this thing to look. But how do you feel the whole program direction is where it's headed right now?
Yeah, and it's so tough, right? In year what 1.5 or
Yeah.
whatever it is, 1 1/3, because you look at Juwan Howard on the basketball side, and he had a good year, good second year. And again, all the coaches that I've talked to said you really don't know when you inherit a team until probably year 3 or 4 when you get your players in there,
Yep.
and you hope that the culture is going to continue. Obviously, it did not under Juwan Howard. Somebody mentioned Kevin Ollie at UConn doing it and winning a championship and then fading down the stretch. So I think it's going to be a couple of years before we really know. But I will say that the culture, because of the leaders that they've had and the leadership that they've had, seems intact in that respect. And again, once John Beeline's players left Michigan basketball, Juwan's teams kind of progressively got worse there. So we hope that won't be the case, and we hope that this is seamless. But to me, where NIL is now, guys, is the biggest thing compared to where it was back
Yeah.
then. I don't know if we were talking about it back then, but because it wasn't a thing yet, right?
Not much. Yeah.
But when it became a thing, Michigan was playing so far from behind. We thought, okay, this is going to be a major issue if they don't catch up. Well, lo and behold, the world's richest man marries a woman who is a Michigan alum, and now they have one of the biggest boosters in college football, and he's contributing to basketball as well, and Larry Ellison and Jolyn Ellison. So I think it's in great shape in terms of getting talent. The biggest thing is to make sure that this is still the cohesive thing that it was in 2023, guys. The championship seasons 2021 to 2023, when you had such great chemistry, and the main thing was the main thing, and that was winning. Guys weren't worried about their stats. Look at the sacrifice that JJ McCarthy made. Blake
Yeah.
Corum played behind Hassan Haskins. So we will see if that continues, but I feel good about it today. And ask me again after the USC games and the Ohio State games, because the big games are going to determine obviously the ceiling of this Michigan football team, and you can't be dropping games, like any other games like Michigan State or Maryland or stuff, anything like that. So, but I
Yeah.
feel good about it today, especially with the way that they've improved the last 2 weeks.
Definitely.
Yeah, you answered the first part of my question about some of the biggest challenges Michigan's going to face in maintaining its competitive edge in the Big Ten and nationally. And yeah, you talked a little bit about keeping the cohesiveness together in the NIL and whatnot. But let's look at schedule a little bit then. Do you see games going forward that maybe previously looked like a cakewalk and now might be a lot more competitive, or like vice versa, games that look challenging, but now you anticipate a game where we'll see backups by quarter four?
Yeah. I never sleep on a game at Michigan State, right? A couple of years ago, obviously they blew them out of the water, but before that, they aren't winning up there by more than 3 points or 7 points, or it's a fourth quarter game. Even the 21-7 game with Shea Patterson, right?
Yep.
When they held Michigan State to 94 yards was still a game in the fourth quarter. So that one is going to be their Super Bowl. Their defense is terrible, fellas. We've seen it. They've got a quarterback though in Aiden Childs, who I said I thought was really going to be one of the guys that made great strides this year, and he has. And Nick Marsh as a receiver is as good as it gets in the Big Ten. So that one, I wouldn't say it's harder, but I'm not taking it for granted. Maryland's been kind of the surprise, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And before that Ohio State game, how many times have we seen it in the last 10 years where they've had to go on the road to Maryland, and maybe it was a little tougher than you thought it was going to be, especially I think 2023. I think they won by a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, out there.
Yeah.
And so that is, they're playing better than I thought they would. So I think Purdue's going to be a cakewalk. Northwestern's going to be a cakewalk. So other than that, I feel pretty good about the rest of the schedule, starting with Wisconsin this weekend. I just don't think they have it offensively. And for all the talk about their number one rush defense, well, the reason that teams aren't running on them is because they're throwing all over them and they realize they don't even have to try to run the ball. So,
Yeah.
but Washington's another interesting one to me, too, kind of a trap game because of where it falls on the schedule. And I think it's right after USC, right, and right before Michigan State. Got a great quarterback who's shifty. They played Ohio State tougher than I think some people really would gauge by looking at the score.
Yeah.
But that could be a tricky game too with Jed Fish coming to town.
Definitely. What do you think the ceiling of this team is in all reality? It's early still, obviously, but where do you think they could end up if they hit their potential?
Yeah, you know what? If they beat USC, guys, and that's going to be a tough one. I get that USC just lost to Illinois and, didn't look great against Michigan State, but venue is everything in these cross country games if you're
Yeah.
not an elite team. And everybody says, well, it's not a problem for Oregon and it's not a problem for Ohio State. Well, these are programs that are, were predicted to be at the top of the Big Ten, and they are. I think that those are, as of right now, probably the two best teams in the Big Ten. We're going to find out if Michigan's in the conversation there when they go to USC. Michigan's won, guys, since I've been following Michigan football, they've won one true road game on the coast. That was 89 against UCLA. Halftime, I was so pissed off. I was a student at U of M that I took the videotape out and threw it from the 19th floor because they were getting their butts kicked, and they got a late onside kick to win that game on a late field goal. But it's hard. It's hard to go up there and win. So they win that one, then you're looking at Ohio State as an all the marbles game here, where okay, we are ahead of schedule here because the people that I've talked to in that building said this is the year that we want to make the playoff. So maybe 10-2. And then next year we start competing for national championships again. So, but I do think I predicted 9-3 before the season. I'm still kind of there. I think 10-2 is within reach. You beat USC though, guys. Then it gets really exciting going in Ohio State. You're already in their heads, right? They got to come here, and Bryce Underwood's going to have several more games under his belt. As long as they stay healthy and that offensive line continues to improve, and somebody steps up to catch the ball, that's going to be a winnable game.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of my final questions I was going to try to finish with there was when inevitably Michigan wins their fifth game in a row against Ohio State, who replaces Ryan Day?
It's funny because even he said last year, well, it's really not the game doesn't really matter anymore. It
He
doesn't
said it
matter.
again this year, like recently I heard one where
Exactly.
he
You
was like,
can't.
well, we don't think about it every day. And I'm like, what is he doing?
He's getting
Perfect.
pretty comfortable there on
Sounds
third
good.
base, isn't
Good.
he?
Yeah, he's gotten used to losing it. So,
Yeah.
and sadly, in a way, he's right. The
Yeah.
importance of it is, but don't tell that. Try telling that to Ohio State fans whose national championship shirts have that team up north and then the loss 13-10 on their
Yeah.
schedule shirts.
Exactly.
That one. It's still 50-50. That one feels empty to half of that fan base because they didn't beat Michigan. The hatred runs so deep down there. So, but to me, it's always going to be the game. They're talking about moving it and, again and stuff like that. You don't do that, right? That would be, it's bad enough. I remember I went down and talked to some Nebraska fans when we were down there for the game, and I said, you know what I really miss is Oklahoma, Nebraska, and at the end of every year, and that just can't happen to this rivalry. This is the best rivalry in sport, in my opinion. And to me, it's always going to be the game. So, but it is the case where you can lose that game and still win a national championship. As much as that would really suck.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel do you feel that they've actually de-emphasized it? Do you think that's actually a thing? I know Day can say whatever he wants to the media, but like, do you
Yeah.
think do you feel like that's actually a program problem for them over there now, or
No.
because I mean, when you talk, there's a stark difference now compared to what Urban Meyer would be saying about that game
Right.
versus what Ryan Day would be saying about that game. Now, granted,
Yeah.
college football has changed too, so I do understand some of it, but like, I don't know, like it just seems like that's a little bit of a problem. It's like a John Cooper esque feel.
Exactly. Except that back then you lose that game if you're
It's
Coop,
over.
it's
Yeah,
over. I think it was an excuse for Ryan Day when he said, he went on a local TV station. He said, "Hey, some of these teams aren't still playing. We're still playing," type of
yeah,
thing. It's like, okay, it was a coping mechanism, is what I call it, because they were so down on him, right? Really, the only way for him to come back from that was to win a national championship. And to their
yeah,
credit, let's be honest, the guys they ran the table and they kicked some butt and they were the best team in the country outside of Michigan at the end of the year. So the one team they can't beat. So, but it is a mental thing, and there's no question about it. And I think that kind of softens the blow. First it was the excuses, the snow, they were sick, and then the sign stealing and all that crap. Now it's just like it doesn't matter anyway, type of thing. So to me, it's a coping mechanism, and as long as he feels that way or says that, and it softens him up, hey, that's just going to play to Michigan's advantage because I guarantee you that's not what they're thinking in the building at Schembechler Hall.
for sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Man, Chris, this has been such a treat again. We're gonna have to do this more than once every leap year. I
Please.
think that's
Yeah.
what we're gonna have to work on. I do want to remind everyone here to subscribe, not only to the Wolverine. It's right now it's only $1 for the first week, and definitely some great stuff that you can get there. But thanks be
Support's
to
fun.
Chris. I got this awesome magazine. Finally, he worked hard for me. Thank you so much for that, dude.
I think your mailman has the other one. I swear to God,
He does.
but
He
He
has
that's
he's
saw it
still
and
okay.
just
reading
took
through
it
it.
for himself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I don't
sorry it
blame
took
him.
you.
Don't blame him. It's hot commodity. But yeah, senior editor at thewolverine.com, Chris Balas, outstanding stuff from all you guys there. I recommend everyone gets on thewolverine.com, subscribes today. Um, man, appreciate you taking time with little old us
No,
tonight, giving us a lot of reasons to be excited about Michigan's 2025 football season, and maybe we'll have to talk some basketball a little bit next time too.
absolutely. Give me a call and look forward to seeing you in Grand Rapids again soon, man. We'll have a beer.
Sure,
Sure.
man. Take care.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
See you.